what's the process? What does a politician have to do to get these signs approved, and how do they get it onto the neighborhoods and street corners the way that they do?
Well, I think once they are authorized to be a political candidate, they have the right to put those signs out there. There's just certain restrictions that they're not allowed to put them in certain areas. One of those is the city's right of way and MoDOT's right of way. You can't actually put a political sign in those areas. Those are public areas, and it's against the law. So they need to remove those signs if they've done that. And if not, we remove them. Our Public Works Department will actually remove those, and they will take them and store them for them. So if they go by and their sign's been removed, and it's in that right of way, they need to contact the Public Works Department so they can get their sign back. And if it's in a residential area, you're only required a certain size of sign. You can only put basically a 6 square foot sign. That'd be like a 2x3 sign in that area. Getting in those big signs like the 4 foot by 8 foot large signs, those are more for the commercial areas. You're allowed a 4.5 foot by 8 foot, basically a 4x8 sheet of plywood size sign in those commercial areas. Again, those have to be out of the right of way and on the actual private property. And people also need to make sure that they don't put those signs in the sight triangles of businesses where people pull out so they can't see if there's traffic coming and things like that. So they got to be very aware of those things.
Gotcha. Now, is it pretty much up to the politicians themselves, or do they have their supporters that are the ones that are actually putting them up and taking them down?
I would assume they don't contact us when they put them up. So I guess it's their supporters or the politician. Ultimately, the person's name that's on the sign is responsible for the sign. In fact, after 4 days after the election, they're required to remove those. So they need to make sure that those are removed 4 days after. I'm sorry, not 4 days, 48 hours after the election, their signs are supposed to be removed.
So fairly quick.
Yeah, pretty quick, 48 hours. I would assume they all have teams, but their team members all need to be cognitive of where they're putting their signs. And if they're in doubt, they should probably contact the owner or contact the city to see if it's an actual area of the right of way.
Gotcha. And so like the land in which these signs are on, is that usually private property? There's no like public spots, or?
Yeah, you cannot put a sign on public right of way at all.
Gotcha. And for those who drivers or something like that might complain about a sign that might be too big or too far in a direction, who do they contact? You guys, or who do they contact?
The best people to contact would be Citizens Resource Center, because there's really 2 departments working toward taking these signs down. On the public side of the public right of ways and things like that, our Public Works Department takes care of those. On the private side, BDS actually sends out inspectors to do that. But if they have a sign and they want to complain about it or get it removed from their property, they just need to call the Citizens Resource Center. That number is 417-864-1010. And they can talk to the ladies at the counter there. They can also come into the building and talk to the ladies at the counter, and they'll put in the complaint form, a service request, and we'll go out and take a look, and we'll determine whether the sign's in the right of way or if it's on the private property and it meets the thresholds that we have in our city ordinances.
Gotcha. Historically, has this kind of always been the case in terms of the rules established?
I know that I know that from years past, there's been signs always get put in the wrong place because people don't really know exactly where things are. And sometimes they don't take the time to actually study the area and make sure that, they're not putting them in someone's front yard or in the right of way. Historically, I think that's just kind of goes with the territory of political signs. People are just trying to get their name out there, trying to get people to hear who they are, and they just put the signs out there for that.
And for those who in the case of whoever owns the private property, like are those people getting paid by said politicians?
Well,
How does that work?
I have no idea about that.
Gotcha.
That's something that's between them and not me.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else I might have missed about this in particular thing that haven't talked about?
Oh, the signs can't be illuminated. That's another thing that needs to be taken care of. You can't put spotlights on them. You can't make them shine up at night in any way. And we talked about the site triangles, 34 square feet for the business signs and 6 square feet for our residential signs. I think that's about it. If you do lose your sign though, and you're a political candidate, more than likely Public Works has it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So is pretty much the size restriction just for the sake for the public, or is it just
I think City Council made those restrictions to, you don't need ginormous signs out there that can block traffic and block people's views and things like that. So they made those restrictions based on their understanding of what the best practices are, probably from other cities and other municipalities.